Hello and welcome. Today we've got Chris Burres and Patty Greer. And today we are going to be discussing the fake food agenda or the fake food society and all the corruption that's going on with what they want to put in our bodies, chemicals poisoning us and just making us really ill and what we need to do about it to take control, have control of our healths. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin, where you can follow all my newsreels. Patty and Chris, thank you both for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to? We'll go with Patty first.
Pleasure to see you, as always. And you look amazing, like younger every time I see you.
It's that olive oil, I promise. It's really good.
Yeah, you were so shriveled up when I met you. No, kidding.
Nicholas, you were so bad when we met you, and now you're shiny.
Yeah. You are shiny, and I don't even have my glasses on. You got the glow, baby.
Well, I'm glad it's the olive oil. I try to sleep well. I try to drink plenty of water. I try to listen to the experts like you guys who've been working on this for years. You're not just normal, supplement people in the industry. You guys are awake. You're the 1% in this industry who understand the corruption that goes behind everything in this industry. And you guys are doing great work. So it's people like you that I'm listening to, taking these instructions and doing the best I can do for my health. So thank you very, very much. Chris, how about yourself? How are you and what have you been up to?
Things are really good. I've been in a very kind of deep dive into interviewing experts in the longevity space, which is both exhausting, right? Like I know you're interviewing people all the time, and I've just picked up a pace that you're probably keeping daily. And I am finding myself like I got about 2 more weeks where I've really thrown myself into this, and I'm looking forward to an end of it. The beauty though is having interviewed experts in the longevity space. Now I come to the table with even more information in a broader realm than I ever have before, and that's always exciting.
Absolutely. Of course. So tell us about how fake the food industry is, what they're doing to our farms, what's happening with that.
Well, I want to start. You talked about Patty and I being the 1%, right? The 1% who's in the supplement or nutrition space and delivering value. And frankly, the knowledge that I was going to end up and that we would end up being the 1% is one of the reasons. My business partner and I tried not to get into the supplement space, right? So that original research, and let's just kind of share that original research. This molecule. Discovered in 1985. The scientists who discovered it won the Nobel Prize in 1996. They actually thought the molecule would be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study. Instead of being toxic, the test subjects that they gave it to, in this case, it was Wistar rats, lived 90% longer than the control group. So when that came out, it clearly says, hey, I should be a supplement on the market. And my business partner and I were looking at that supplement market and thinking, there's just a lot of problems in it, right? There's a lot of problems in nutrition. There's a lot of problems in supplementation. And so we tried really not to get into the market. Patty really, opened her big mouth and started sharing it. And then our customers started kind of twisting our arm to bring this product to market. And so I embrace that 1% that you applied to us, because we really, for the reason that 99% of the people in this space really aren't doing the right thing, is kind of why we tried not to get into it. And ultimately, it's exciting to be here and to be delivering such a great product. Now, you talk about, yeah, go ahead.
No, please, you were saying.
Yeah, you talk about fake food, right? And it's not just fake food. If you think about the overutilization of farmland for the production of crops, like you can hardly have a conversation with a physician, a nutritional expert, with anybody in the fitness arena. Like we just collectively agree that the food that's produced now, although it may be bigger, and although it may be prettier, right? Like the tomatoes have gotten bigger, avocados are bigger, like everything may be bigger and brighter. the collective agreement is that it's not as nutritious. So that's one of the fundamental things that is a challenge with the food that's being produced out there. Then the other is you look at what kind of chemicals are being put on them. Glyphosate is a huge problem, and it's kind of colloquially, it's Roundup. It's a weed killer. They use it for all sorts of purposes. I believe mostly it's weeds, and then they actually use it after crops that aren't even plagued by weeds. After you cut them down, you can get them to dry out faster by using tons of this glyphosate. Well, glyphosate is an endocrine disruptor, and this is not good for us. And it's on all of the produce that you would get. You want to make sure that you're washing it. I was always, I don't know, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to vegetables, but that after some of these conversations with these experts in the industry, I'm no longer lackadaisical about washing down my vegetables before I include them. By the way, whatever vegetables you're eating, you should be eating more. You just got to make sure that you're taking care of them properly. And one of the ways, actually, this is just a nice little tip. You can use baking soda in water, and just 2 minutes of baking soda in water, soaking your vegetables in that, will actually take care of the glyphosate, right? So you can actually manage that glyphosate really good. But glyphosate is everywhere. It's in all of us. I actually haven't been tested yet. I've seen speakers talk about it where they're having clinics, and everybody who comes into their clinic who takes a glyphosate test has some contamination with glyphosate in their system. So yeah, I think we have big problems.
Very interesting. You say that that they put injections. They fabricate them. We know like avocados and apples and stuff like that, where you're saying that they're much bigger. They're making them look brighter, and there's much less nutrients in them. If I'm not getting the nutrients that I need, and I'm needing to have 10 times the amount of these avocados now, so I can get the nutrients that I should be from one avocado from back 20, 30, 40 years ago, how am I going to, have those nutrients, the correct amount that I'm losing? Because I can't be sitting there having, 20 avocados to get the nutrients that I'm missing from one avocado. So what's the solution here?
Well, I think there's two things that you can focus on. I mean, one is just pure and simple. It's supplementation, right? Having a good multivitamin that you kind of rest your head on. And that could be in the form of greens. We're actually kind of pursuing the thought process of bringing a greens product to market that can help replace the vegetables that, the nutrient deficient vegetables that you're consuming. The other is to think about bioavailability, right? So there is some indication that we've got increased bioavailability with this ESS60 molecule, right? So if you're supplementing with a C60 Evo product, it's got the ESS60 in it. There is some indications that might be beneficial to your bioavailability of a lot of the nutrients that you consume on a regular basis. So those are the two things that I focus on, actually.
Very interesting. Patty, before we started this interview, we always have a little chat before we start with Chris, and we like to just have an update, an inside update, and you were saying that Amazon is the worst place to buy supplements. Now, we know there's a lot of junk on Amazon as well. You have to really know what you're buying. People have a motive on there, and they throw anything off just to make money. And what are your views? Why don't you explain to us why it's so bad to buy supplements on Amazon?
Well, that was actually Chris's statement.
I do. Excuse me.
But what I can say as evidence to it is that I watch all of our emails. We keep getting invitations to purchase 5-star reviews on Amazon. And I haven't gone through the joke of, oh, well, how much is it? Who are your other customers? No, thank you. Delete. But I don't delete it. I screenshotted them because it's like, wow, how sad that you have to falsify the quality of what you sell. So the fact that we sell something that actually works, most people feel it the next day. It's an easy thing. It's been the easiest thing I've ever sold because once people try it, they love it. And I think a lot of the people that get the 5-star, this and that, and they're like, well, waiting for the effects. But perhaps that company bought those 5-star reviews.
Absolutely, that does happen. Now, how do we actually know that C60 Evo works? What resources or what instruments do you use to measure the success rate of C60 Evo?
Chris and I met because the evidence is in the bottle. It's in the molecule. It saved my life. There's no two ways about it for me. I lived through the death of ufology when a lot of people, I'm just going to say it straight out, were taken out in a short period of time, and I was hurt, badly hurt, and I could barely walk. And somebody had bought some of the molecule at Chris's lab, a couple different people around Denver, and a couple people offered me samples, and it was like, wow, what is this? And it took me a while to get connected with Chris, but it saved my life. I don't know how I made it. And then boom, a few years ago, I got hit with uranium poisoning on purpose, emergency room, the whole thing. And here I am, full friggin' brain, a little more fire than usual, because it's just like, we shouldn't have to go through this on Earth. But right now we're at war, in my opinion. We've got this fifth dimensional subliminal war that, they've got it all hidden. And so we're losing friends and family, and everybody's like disagreeing, and the agendas sweeping the country for billions of dollars are confusing our society beyond anything that we've seen. And I love your shows. I love your clips. I listen to a number of influencers, but I really more listen to the Congress. I want to know what's actually going on. America's changing. And when America changes, the world changes. But what does this have to do with Evo? What I've been through, the fact that I survived is one thing, but the fact that I'm not postal every day of my life, right here in this bottle. So that's my evidence that it works. But all my friends and family, they're like, oh yeah, Patty, like petting a dog. Sure, I'll try it. But then they ask for more. That's the evidence.
Interesting,
So
very interesting.
for me, it's about actual evidence of people saying, wow, what? And the facial serum, I get more calls the first morning. What? Come on, am I imagining it? So Chris is a scientist. So for him, it's data, it's evidence, it's testing, and it's literal. For me, it's emotional, how people are reacting, because I'm the social person in the company, which I love that we have really different jobs, and yet we do these shows together because he brings the science and I bring what our customers are saying. And we've got hundreds of testimonials, which people can see on the website any day of the week.
And that's why you both make a great team, and that's why it works, because you have the different areas. Now, that's a great story. Thank you so much, Patty, for sharing that. Chris, Patty was saying, obviously, you're a data person, statistics. Why don't you show us the statistics that you came up recently that you just showed me before we started the interview, and explain to us how you got to those statistics with using C60 Evo with, the results that you have today?
All right. So, what I did, there's a website called My DN Age, right? So they're really assessing your biological age from a blood sample, right? So this is not your chronological age. It's like, how old are you? And we talked about one recently. It was a glycan age, and it looks like glycans. That's a key indicator in your cells. And in that one, I was 33 years younger than my chronological age. This one, I've got to be honest, and I just got these results. I got to be honest. It's a little disheartening, right? Because it says that I'm 58 when I'm actually 54, right? And so that's like, okay, I've got room for improvement. Some of the things that I need to do on a more regular basis, and probably need to be taking more C60 Evo. But when you put this in context, I got tested back when I was 51, and my DNA age was 59, right? So when I was 51, my DNA age was 59. Now that I'm 54, my DNA age is 58. Ostensibly, in those 3 years, I should have gone from 59 to 62, right? If I was 60, 61, 62, that's 3 years. In fact, I went back a year. So over the course of 3 years, I got 1 year younger from a biological perspective. So, glycans are one mode of test that's really looking at inflammation and certainly but biologically knocking it out of the park there. This improvements on a regular basis, I'll take this all day long. I'm a little bit older biologically than I am chronologically, but it's getting younger. In fact, this graph kind of shows you this is my chronological age increasing, and then this is my biological age decreasing by 1 year as this is increasing by 3 years. So it's a pretty phenomenal result.
Wow, it's an excellent result. Please, Patty.
Aside from C60 Evo, I think you've been my partner the last 3 years, so I'm going to take a little credit for, helping you anti-age because I'm just so easy to work with.
Well, yes, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Chris, I want to say as well, just to confirm, you're 54, you said?
I'm 54, yes.
54. So after you've shown us those statistics from DNH, what's your goal now? Would you like to be 54 on your DNH as well, so it matches your age? Is that the goal here?
Well, I think if you look at what came in with glycan age, and again, that's looking at the biological clock from a different perspective. And frankly, this is looking at it more from a DNA perspective, right? So this is more about my genetics. And so my genetics and my genetic markers are indicating that I'm a little bit older than my chronological age, whereas glycan age is looking more about lifestyle. It's significantly more about lifestyle. And remember, the result on that study was I'm 54, biologically, I'm 21, right? So 33 years younger. I would, of course, like to have the genes that will yield me to be in 21. Like 21's a great age, maybe 25. Actually, with one of the experts, we were having this very interesting debate about if you could select your age, what age would you want to be, right? Of course, you're the same person, right? You have the same experiences. In my case, I have 54 years of experience, but maybe there's a challenge, and this is just an interesting philosophical conversation. If you were back into your, early 20s, like maybe there's hormones and challenges that are going on that don't allow you to think as clearly as you might think at 25 or 30. So maybe 25 or 30 is a better age because you're kind of past those hormonal adjustments. Just fascinating conversation, right? Like if you could choose the optimal age, I think everyone's first thought is younger. That's certainly my first thought. And then you're like, maybe there are some biological factors that come into play that would cause you to choose a different age. So to answer your question, I would the younger, like at least I'd like to be about 30. And if I keep every 3 years going 1 year younger biologically, I'll just continue that, right? Like that is an ideal scenario.
Chris, what are you going to do to continue that? What's your routine?
So the things that I focus on, right? And the things really, as I'm interviewing all these longevity experts, the things that you really need to focus on are the fundamentals, right? Good nutrition is probably the hardest thing to manage, right? And that's what we're talking about. Part of that is because, or a big part of it is because, a lot of the vegetables that you have access to now, not only are they depleted because they've been grown on the same plot of land for so many generations or eras, but they're genetically modified. And I have to tell you, I have an engineering background. And when I first learned about genetically modifying crops, I was like, this is a good thing. Like if you can just make more food from the same volume of land, how could this possibly be bad? And when you dig in to understand what GMO typically is doing, right? What it's typically doing is making those crops insect resistant, right? Well, what the way that crops become more insect resistant is typically with something called so if you look at gluten is one, lectins are the whole collection of chemicals that plants use to convince animals not to eat them, right? So if an insect eats a particular plant, it gets sick, it stops eating that plant. So the plant has defended itself. In fact, chemical warfare is the only way that plants can defend themselves. Because it turns out, as everyone knows, they can't pick up and move, right? They can't move away from the insects. They have to use chemical warfare. So GMO typically increases the amount of lectins that these crops produce. And so guess what? We're also animals. And when we consume these things that irritate the insects, they also irritate us. You get things like leaky gut syndrome. And so after kind of understanding this process, that's when I realized, okay, GMO is, you really do want to stay away from GMO. There's a lot of things to be solved related to GMO. I think ultimately we'll hone in on the right solutions, but we're not there now.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing that with us. And Patty, how about yourself? What are you doing? What's your goal with this now? Where do you want to take your health, and what are you going to do to sustain and reach that target?
Well, the only thing I do religiously is take my Evo, but I take a lot of it like Chris does. And I start my day, I wake up very groggy, like most people, and I put it in my coffee. And I use the softest, not the highest, strongest, which is the MCT coconut oil, because it's just so good in coffee. And Chris and I both talk about the Silver Bullet, which is a classic American coffee where you just basically make a meal in your cup of coffee with organic butter, honey, cinnamon for me, MCT coconut oil with the C60 Evo. So I start my day with this soft, wonderful buzz. And the coffee's got its own buzz, but I don't feel it anymore because this is in it. And it is half as strong, I will say, as the olive oil. We also have avocado, which is almost as strong. Oh, Chris is going for a shot. So there's 3 flavors of oil. They all have a different frequency of strength, which literally is called solution, like level. What's the word? Concentration.
Solubility.
Level. Solubility. This will only hold 0.35 milligrams. This will hold 0.8 to 0.85. So it's not a matter of how much we put in it. It's each oil will hold its maximum amount. Avocado holds 0.6. So it's a nice combination. We sell a lot of people the sampler set so that you can see what works for you. But I take all of them. And I have my supplements, all kinds of things for that people my age, should be taking. But I'm not as motivated as I am religious to the Evo. And I also find that I don't buy any products anymore for my face because I really want to go natural. We're talking about the food poisoning. I have to admit, my camera today, I just watched them paint the sky with terrible stripes. So even organic farms, they're dumping bad things on the organic food. So, we're in a fight with stupidity right now and evil, and they're hitting us from the air. And what I saw today over Boulder, Colorado, I feel sorry for their families, the karma. But anyway, it's just so wrong. And the way I fight it is religious Evo. And when you've got a molecule that's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C, and it gets into places vitamin C can't because it's this teeny little molecule, and it's this powerhouse of energy. I'm wired every morning. So when friends call me, they're like, wow, you're coffeeed up. I'm like, well, coffee's okay, but the Evo, my brain is on fire. So when I talk about, I should be nuts with watching what people are saying on the news and what's actually going on in the Congress. But what does that matter if everything up is down and left is right? And, it is such a bizarre time right now. And I'm attracting more people that are like me because I'm staying centered, and I swear it's the Evo. I'm not doing much of anything else. And I'm challenged like everybody else. But the Evo, it just keeps me so in flow mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So I look at it differently than Mr. Science Master, who's constantly going to seminars. I don't know anybody that's learning more as a grown-up than Chris. And maybe his partner goes to a few, but Chris is an animal. I just got tested for this. I'm tested. Now he's got a new test. But see, that keeps our company fresh. It keeps our data updated. And for me, I'm just the designer of the product line. I love to say, ooh, let's do this.
Yeah.
Because it works on everything.
Well, you're both doing a fantastic job. I love what you guys are doing. I take it myself and I take it religiously as well. I feel great. And also I want to leave the link below in the description so our wonderful viewers can have access to this amazing benefits that you guys are doing. And of course, you're doing the 10% discount, I believe, Chris and Patty, for this, which I'll be leaving the discount code below. If I remember rightly, there's a discount code. So guys, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish? Chris, we'll go with you first.
No, just be mindful of your health, follow the basics. We talked about nutrition. I would say the next one is sleep. Make sure you're getting 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep opportunity per night. Sleep is incredible. It's the most restorative and healing medicine that you can ever take is sleep.
Thank you, Chris. And sleep is very important, of course. Patty, how about yourself?
Lower your stress. I think that somehow we got to keep our brains screwed onto our head, screwed onto our neck. And there's a lot of car accidents lately. I think people are just so overwhelmed, perhaps. But another thing I want to mention is don't forget dogs and cats. We've got a formula because everybody loves their pets like kids. And here comes Christmas. Everything that goes out from our shipping department looks like it's gift wrapped. You open a clean white box and it's full of all these different colors of beautifully wrapped products. So when people sign up for a monthly subscription, they save 20% on every month. If you just want to buy gifts, if it's more than one item, we call it a set. We take 15% off the price of every item. So don't be overwhelmed if the value of real good C60 is more valuable than gold per ounce, literally. These products are really quite reasonable, but you're going to get so much for your money. And what a great gift to give people you care about. Your code is EVNV.
So, or was it NVTV? Was it, I think?
Is it NVTV?
I think it's NVTV.
It should be in the description below.
Sure, I think I've got it. I'll have a look for that. Thank you very, very much. And it's been an honor. And we'll speak again very soon. You take care and God bless you both. Bye-bye.
Take care, Nicholas.